Hello, I am Arun Gidu, and in this video, we will discuss how we can objectively evaluate projects using the NPV/IRR methodology. First, let us see where this is useful. You may have come across situations where there is limited funding and the supply chain team wants a whole bunch of projects to be implemented by the IT department. So, how do we evaluate and rank these projects so that projects which are more beneficial get funded first? IRR and NPV methodology is one way of objectively ranking the projects so that we can then choose which projects to fund. Let me illustrate uh, this using examples in Excel. Before we get to the Excel examples, let us have a quick primer on few of the terms so that we are better able to use NPV and IRR to rank and evaluate projects. First is cash flow. Cash flows are time-ordered flows of money being invested or money being returned. In the first example here, $100 is invested in 2023 and we get back $30 every year from 2024 to 2027. So minus 100, 30, 30, 30, 30 are the cash flows. We adopt the convention that investment or outgoing money has a negative sign and incoming money or returns have a positive sign. In the second example, the cash flows are minus 100 and 115. The second term is discount rate. Discount rate seems like a misnomer and is confusing at first sight, but in essence, this is the interest rate. Even though the determination of discount rate is where the mathematical world of finance meets modern art, we do not have to worry about it here since this number will be provided by the finance department and we just plug this number into our Excel formula for NPV and just slide on. Another note here, discount rate reflects the risk of the project. Even if we have money to invest in a project, we want the returns of the project to be higher for a project with higher risk. If that were not the case, then everyone would just invest in perhaps US Treasury bonds, which are guaranteed by the US government and therefore presumably are risk free. Now, let's see what is NPV. NPV is the present value of all cash flows over time. You know that having money now is better than having money later. If the risk represented by the discount rate is 15%, then what we are saying is having $100 now is the same as having $115 in a year's time. So sum of cash flows of minus 100 investment in 2023 and 115 after a year in 2024 is 0 since the 115 needs to be discounted by 15%. Hence the term discount rate, and 115 divided by 1.15 is 100. And the last term here is IRR. Even though finance literature makes this seem complicated, IRR is just the effective interest rate. If you were to borrow $100 today and pay me back 115 in a year's time, I am effectively making 15% on this loan, and that is the IRR as shown here. If you are still a bit confused, play around with IRR and PMT functions in Excel, and that would make understanding IRR much easier or simpler. Now, let us look at a project in Excel. This is the same project that I mentioned in one of my previous videos on obtaining de facto ASN using transportation service provider. Let us assume that we are making funding decisions for 2023 or 2023, and let us check if this project qualifies for funding. We need to calculate NPV and IRR, and the initial step towards that is to calculate cash flows and obtain a discount rate. Cash flow, let's look here, is in 2023, we spend a total of 35,000 plus 40,000 plus 3,000, and we get a benefit of 20,000 in the first year itself. So the outgoing cash flow for the year 2023 is 58,000. In 2024, we spend 4,000 plus 3,000, but we get benefits of 50,000, and therefore our cash flow for 2024 is a positive 43,000, and similarly for other years. We can then use the Excel formulae for NPV and IRR and obtain these numbers. So this project, because the NPV is positive, IRR is greater than the discount rate, these are all good, and therefore this project should be funded if we go by the numbers. Now, an important thing to remember is that our decisions are only as good as the numbers they are based on. We should make sure that these numbers are right. Are we only going to spend 78,000 in 2023? Are we indeed going to get these benefits in these years? Are we confident that our freight savings and cost reduction will be 10K each in 2023? We should have a robust discussion and or have a solid understanding of our operating environment to have reasonable confidence in our numbers. So in conclusion, IRR and NPV make it easier to decide which projects to fund and which not to fund. In the example here, project 1 should not be funded since NPV is less than 0 and IRR is less than the discount rate of 15%. Project 3 is the best here, the highest NPV and IRR. Project 2 can also be funded since its NPV is greater than 0 and IRR is better than the discount rate. Remember, if IRR is greater than the discount rate, NPV will be positive and vice versa. And the second thing to remember is IRR is not dependent on the size of the investment, but NPV is. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe. If you have questions like, I have the same IRR for two projects, but NPV for one is higher than the other, which one is preferable? Or I have two projects, both with positive NPV, but I do not have funds to fund both of them. What should I do? Or why did you choose a 5-year time frame and not a 4-year time frame? If you have such questions or any other, please leave them in the comment section below and I'll be happy to answer. Thank you.